This message is different from what you expected to hear today, and perhaps that is exactly why you are here, guided by forces beyond your conscious understanding to receive a truth that your soul has been whispering but your heart has refused to hear. You came seeking confirmation that they will return, that the waiting will end, that the pain will transform into reunion. But the universe is offering you something far more valuable than false hope wrapped in pretty words. Sometimes the most profound act of love the cosmos can offer is not a promise of reconciliation, but permission to walk away with your dignity intact and your spirit unbroken. This is not the failure you fear it might be. This is completion. This is graduation from a curriculum that has taught you everything it was designed to teach, and now the lesson is over, whether you are ready to accept that truth or not. The voice you have been hearing in your quietest moments, the one that surfaces at 3 in the morning when pretense falls away and raw truth emerges, has been trying to tell you that this connection has reached its natural conclusion. You have been interpreting that voice as fear, as doubt, as weakness, but it is none of those things. It is wisdom. It is your higher self recognizing that some earthquakes are not meant to become foundations, that some people enter your life to shatter old patterns and then exit so you can rebuild something stronger in the space they leave behind. The discomfort you feel right now, reading these words, is not wrongness. It is recognition. It is the part of you that already knows aligning with the part of you that has been afraid to know. Write "I am ready to hear truth" in the comments if you can handle this message. If you are prepared to receive what your soul already understands but your ego has been resisting. If you are willing to trade comfortable illusion for liberating reality. Not every soul who touches yours with intensity is meant to walk beside you for the duration of your journey, and this is perhaps the most misunderstood truth in all of spiritual awakening. You have been taught to believe that profound connection equals permanent partnership, that chemistry means destiny, that the person who makes you feel the most must therefore be the one meant to stay, but this equation is fundamentally flawed. Some people enter your energetic field not as life partners but as spiritual catalysts, designed by forces beyond human comprehension to crack you open, to force growth, to accelerate your evolution in ways that gentle, comfortable love never could. They were the earthquake, not the foundation. They were the storm that cleared dead branches, not the shelter where you build your home. Carl Jung understood this when he wrote that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed, but transformation does not imply permanence. This person awakened something in you that had been dormant, perhaps for years, perhaps for lifetimes. They showed you depths of feeling you did not know you could access, heights of passion you had only read about, dimensions of connection that seemed to validate every romantic notion you had ever held. But awakening is not the same as sustaining. The one who opens the door is not always the one who walks through it with you. Some souls are meant to collide with yours just long enough to shatter your illusions about what you thought you wanted, to reveal what you actually need, to show you the difference between intoxication and nourishment, between intensity and compatibility, between the love that consumes and the love that sustains. You have been confusing the magnitude of the lesson with the meaning of the relationship. Because it hurt this much, because you felt this deeply, because the connection seemed so rare and so powerful, you assumed it must be destiny, but destiny is not always romantic. Sometimes your destiny with a person is simply to learn from them, to be transformed by them, and then to release them so both of you can find what you are actually meant to build with someone else in a different season under different stars. Look at what this connection has given you, not in spite of the pain but through it, because the gifts are hidden in the wreckage if you are brave enough to sift through the debris with clear eyes and an open heart. They showed you your strength by testing it in ways you never asked to be tested, pushing you to edges you did not know you could survive, forcing you to discover reservoirs of resilience you had no idea existed within you. Every time you thought you could not endure another day of uncertainty, another week of silence, another month of hoping, you did endure, and that endurance was not weakness, it was power you had to claim through fire. They taught you boundaries by crossing them, by showing you exactly what it feels like when someone treats why. Our energy as if it is limitless, your forgiveness as if it is guaranteed, your presence as if it is optional. And in doing so they gave you the blueprint for what you will never tolerate again. They revealed your worth by undervaluing it, by showing you the contrast between how you deserve to be treated and how they were capable of treating you, by creating such stark discord between your inner knowing and their outer behavior that you could no longer pretend not to see the gap. This was the curriculum, brutal and necessary. They taught you discernment by being inconsistent. They taught you self-reliance by being unreliable. They taught you self-love by giving you just enough crumbs of affection to keep you hungry while denying you the full meal your soul required. Until finally, you looked at those crumbs and realized you were starving yourself in the name of connection. You learned that love without respect is not love, that chemistry without commitment is not partnership, that potential without follow-through is just fantasy dressed in hope. You discovered what it means to choose yourself even when every cell in your body wants to choose them, to honor your truth even when it conflicts with your desires, to walk away from intensity when that intensity is destroying your peace. These are not small lessons. These are the teachings that will protect you, guide you, and serve you for the rest of your life. This person was not your forever love. They were your teacher, and the course they taught was brutal and beautiful and absolutely necessary for who you are becoming, for who you must be to receive what is actually meant for you. You have been operating under the assumption that if they only understood, if they only saw clearly, if they only felt what you feel, everything would change, but this assumption is built on sand. It is not that they will not become what you need. It is that they cannot. There is a difference between unwillingness and incapacity, and you have been interpreting their incapacity as temporary unwillingness, as something that can be fixed with enough patience, enough love, enough waiting, enough sacrifice of your own needs. But some people are simply not equipped for the level of emotional depth, consistent presence, and conscious partnership that your soul requires, not because they are bad people, not because they do not care in their own limited way, but because they are operating from a different level of consciousness, a different stage of development, a different understanding of what relationship even means. They show you who they are through their patterns, through their choices, through what they prioritize when pressure arrives and comfort disappears. You have seen the pattern, you have witnessed the cycle. You have hoped it would break, and it has not broken because it is not a pattern they are trying to change. It is simply who they are right now in this season at this level of their journey. You cannot love someone into evolution they have not chosen for themselves. You cannot consciousness raise another adult human being through the sheer force of your devotion. You cannot be enough, give enough, wait enough, understand enough, forgive enough to transform someone who is not doing their own internal work, who is not seeking their own healing, who is not choosing their own growth. This is not cruelty, this is reality. They are showing you their capacity, and their capacity does not match your requirements, and no amount of hope or time or spiritual bypassing will change that fundamental incompatibility. You have outgrown this dynamic. You have evolved past the point where this connection serves you, and staying is not loyalty, it is self-abandonment. Leaving is not giving up, it is honoring the truth that has been trying to reach you for longer than you want to admit. You fell in love with who they could become, with the version of them you glimpsed in rare moments of vulnerability and presence, and you have been waiting for that version to become permanent, to stabilize, to show up consistently. But potential is not a person. Potential is a ghost you have been trying to hold, a promise you have been trying to collect, a future that exists only in your imagination while the present keeps showing you a different story. The danger of loving potential is that it allows you to dismiss reality, to explain away behavior that should not be explained away, to make excuses for someone who is not making changes, to invest in a future that requires their transformation while they remain content with who they are right now. You cannot love someone into becoming their highest self if they are not actively choosing that path for themselves, if they are not doing the work, if they are not questioning their patterns, if they are not seeking healing, if they are not willing to be uncomfortable for the sake of growth. Your love, no matter how pure, how patient, how unconditional, cannot be the engine of another person's evolution. That is spiritual bypassing disguised as devotion, codependency dressed in metaphysical language, self-abandonment masquerading as faith. You have been treating their potential as if it were a promise, but they never made that promise, you made it on their behalf, and now you are suffering because they are not fulfilling an agreement they never entered. Subscribe if you are ready to stop waiting for potential to become reality. If you are prepared to love people for who they actually are rather than who you hope they might become. If you are willing to release the fantasy so the real can finally arrive. Every day you spend waiting for someone to evolve into their potential is a day you are not available for someone who has already done the work, who is already operating at the level you require, who is already capable of the love you deserve. The opportunity cost of clinging to potential is astronomical, and you are paying it with your time, your energy, your peace, and your one precious life. Count the cost of remaining in this holding pattern, this liminal space between hope and heartbreak, this exhausting middle ground where you are neither fully in nor fully out, neither committed nor free. Every day you wait is a day you do not meet your true match, the person who is ready, who is available, who is seeking exactly what you offer, who will not make you question your worth or your sanity or your perception of reality. That person exists, moving through their own journey, doing their own healing, preparing to recognize you when paths cross, but they cannot reach you while you are energetically entangled with someone who cannot meet you, while your frequency is attuned to longing rather than openness, while you are broadcasting, occupied to the universe even though you are profoundly alone. The energy drain of an unfulfilled connection is immense and insidious, bleeding you dry in ways you cannot always measure but can certainly feel. You are tired in a way that sleep does not fix, depleted in a way that rest does not restore, because you are constantly managing anxiety, soothing disappointment, suppressing rage, overriding intuition, explaining away red flags, convincing yourself to stay when everything in you wants to run. This is not love. This is survival. This is endurance. This is the slow erosion of your vitality in service to a connection that does not nourish you, and the cost is accumulating in your body, your spirit, your capacity for joy, your ability to trust. Self-betrayal has a price, and you are paying it every time you choose them over yourself, every time you silence your inner knowing to maintain external peace, every time you make yourself smaller to make them more comfortable, every time you accept less than you need because you fear losing what you have, even though what you have is not actually sustaining you. You are compromising your integrity in tiny increments, and each compromise makes the next one easier until one day you look in the mirror and do not recognize the person staring back. The person who once had clear boundaries and strong standards and unshakable faith in their own worth. Walking away is not giving up, though your conditioned mind will try to frame it that way, will accuse you of weakness, of impatience, of failing to fight hard enough for something that mattered. Walking away is honoring yourself at the highest level, choosing your peace over your addiction to intensity, your future over your attachment to the familiar, your authentic needs over your ego's need to win, to fix, to be chosen by someone who keeps not choosing you in the ways that matter. This is not defeat. This is self-respect. This is spiritual maturity. This is you finally understanding that loving yourself means refusing to participate in dynamics that diminish you, regardless of how much history you share, how deep the connection feels, how rare the chemistry seems. The universe is trying to clear the path, creating space for what is meant to arrive, but it cannot deliver new blessings into hands that are still clutching old pain. You must release the wrong one to call in the right one, not as manipulation, not as strategy, not because letting go guarantees they will return transformed, but because staying in wrong alignment blocks all other possibilities. Energy is finite. Attention is limited. Time is the only resource you cannot replenish. Every moment invested in someone who cannot meet you is a moment stolen from yourself, from your healing, from your joy, from the person who is ready to love you the way you have been trying to force this person to love you. There is an energetic law at work here that transcends human logic. What you cling to cannot leave, and what you release can return transformed or not at all, and both outcomes are blessings if you are willing to see them clearly. If they return changed, conscious, ready, then the separatio. N was necessary for that transformation, and you will meet again as different people capable of something real. If they do not return or return unchanged expecting you to accept the same patterns, then the universe has freed you from a dynamic that would have consumed years of your life in diminishing returns, in false starts, in recycled pain. Either way, releasing is the answer. Holding on is the trap. Waiting is the prison. Walking away is the liberation you keep seeking everywhere except the one place it actually lives, in your own willingness to choose yourself even when it breaks your heart to do so. The moment you truly release, not the shallow release where you let go with one hand while reaching back with the other, not the conditional release where you only let go to manipulate return, but the deep, sovereign, irreversible release where you genuinely stop needing a specific outcome, everything changes. The energetic shift is immediate and palpable, like a weight lifting from your chest that you had grown so accustomed to carrying you forgot it was not part of your body. You begin to breathe differently. Sleep returns, appetite normalizes, colors seem brighter, music sounds clearer. Your life force, which has been hemorrhaging in the direction of someone who could not receive it, floods back into your own system, and you remember what it feels like to be whole without external validation. Space creation is a spiritual law, and nature abhors a vacuum, which means the moment you stop filling your time and thoughts and energy with someone who cannot reciprocate at the level you require, the universe rushes in to fill that space with new opportunities, new connections, new possibilities that were always there, but could not reach you through the density of your attachment. You become available in a way you have not been available in months or years, not just available on dating apps or social calendars, but energetically available, broadcasting a frequency of openness rather than lack, of wholeness rather than seeking, of readiness rather than desperation. Share this message if you are choosing yourself, if you are ready to release what no longer serves, if you are willing to trust that letting go creates space for something better to arrive. They might return transformed, humbled by your absence, finally awakened to what they lost, willing to do the work they refused to do before. Or they will not return, or they will return unchanged, expecting access to the old dynamic. And by then you will be so aligned with yourself, so clear on your worth, so protected by your new boundaries, that you will feel only gratitude that the universe removed them before you wasted any more of your sacred time. You do not need their apology to move forward, their acknowledgement to heal, their understanding to be free, and the sooner you accept this truth, the sooner your real life begins. Closure is not something another person gives you through explanation, through remorse, through finally seeing your perspective, through admitting what they did and why they did it. Closure is something you give yourself when you stop waiting for them to hand you permission to move on, when you stop needing them to validate your experience or confirm your perception, when you reclaim your power from the external and anchor it back in the internal where it always belonged. They will likely never understand the depth of what they put you through, the nights you could not sleep, the mornings you could not eat, the constant anxiety, the confusion, the cognitive dissonance of being told one thing and shown another, the slow erosion of your confidence, the questioning of your reality. They will not understand because they were not trying to hurt you in most cases. They were simply living from their own limitations, their own unconsciousness, their own inability to show up. And people operating from that level do not have the awareness to comprehend the impact of their actions on someone operating from your level. Stop waiting for the conversation that will make it all make sense. Stop hoping for the moment when they finally get it, when the light bulb turns on, when they realize what they had and what they lost. That moment may never come, and even if it does, it will not undo the past, it will not restore the time you spent suffering. It will not heal the wounds that only you can heal through your own decision to stop picking at them. Stop replaying the story, stop assigning meaning to their silence or their presence or their patterns. You only need your own permission to move forward, your own recognition that you gave what you could give, that you stayed as long as you could stay, that you tried as hard as anyone could try, and that continuing to try is not virtue, it is violence against yourself. Give yourself the closure they cannot give you. Write the final chapter yourself. Walk away knowing you are complete. Future pace yourself into a life that is waiting on the other side of this release, the version of you who has walked through this fire and emerged not burned but refined, not broken but breakthrough, not diminished but expanded in ways this pain was designed to create. Someone is coming who will not make you question, who will not leave you confused, who will not offer inconsistency disguised as complexity or emotional unavailability disguised as depth. Someone is moving toward you right now who has done their work, who knows what they want, who is ready to build something real with someone ready, and you cannot meet that person, cannot even recognize them when they appear, if you are still energetically bound to someone who represents your past, your lessons, your teacher disguised as lover. This pain was the preparation, the necessary breaking that precedes every true becoming, the labor that must be endured before new life emerges. You are not who you were when this connection began, and that is exactly the point. They entered to catalyze your transformation, and the transformation is complete, which means their role is over, their purpose fulfilled, their exit not only allowed but required for your next chapter to begin. You will look back on this time not with bitterness but with gratitude, not with regret but with recognition that every single moment of suffering was carving space inside you for a love you could not have received before, a partnership you were not ready to hold, a connection that required this level of self-knowing, this depth of boundary setting, this clarity about what you will and will not accept. Thank them silently for the lesson, for showing you what was still unhealed inside you, for reflecting back the places where you abandoned yourself, for teaching you through their absence what you truly need in someone's presence. And then walk forward without looking back, without checking to see if they are watching, without hoping they will chase, without leaving the door cracked open just in case. Close the door, lock it. Walk toward the life that is calling you, the love that is waiting for you, the version of yourself who is already healed, already whole, already standing in the future you cannot yet see but can absolutely trust is there. Your real love story is just beginning.